Hey everyone, Tony here. Hope you're doing well. I have a special guest with me here today, one that you may have seen on TV before, Ronnie Moas, who is the founder and CEO of Standpoint Research. And Ronnie's going to talk a bit about his background in stocks as well as crypto, and I'm going to ask him a few questions. So Ronnie, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So Ronnie, for those who may not know about Standpoint Research or your background, can you give us an overview about the service you provide and your history? And I know you have a lot of accolades as well. Being listed on top as far as top picks and things along that line.
Yeah, I started my company 17 years ago. I have a top 20 ranking versus 4,700 people in my industry. Every one of the 700 recommendations that I put out in the last 10 years were time-stamped intraday by at least 3 different news wires, including Bloomberg and Dow Jones. I put out notes on a daily basis to my subscribers, and during the course of the year, they get dozens of stock and crypto recommendations from me.
Got it. And are those that data, is it by subscription, where a paid subscription, or is it free? Just
Yeah,
curious.
yeah, people pay me upfront for a year, and the prices go anywhere from $509 up to $17.99, depending on what level of service you want. And it's not a net expense to anyone. A lot of people look at that as an expense. If it was a net expense, I
Right.
wouldn't have a business model. Most people get a return on their investment immediately because they're getting a list of all my open names when they sign up. That includes more than 25 crypto names and more than 50 stock names.
Wow, yeah, because it is a lot to navigate. I mean, obviously in stocks itself, and of course now in crypto. So I absolutely see, the value that you provide, and I'm assuming a lot of maybe hedge funds and other investment funds probably leverage your data.
Yeah, I started with institutional clients, and it was a focus on the stock market. But then there was a life-changing event that happened here in July of 2007 when I put out a headline that went viral all over the world, and it went through Bloomberg news wires. And the headline was "Prolific Stock Picker Ronnie Moas Sets $50,000 Bitcoin Price Target." And my business jumped 1,000% within a few months. And in December, January, when Bitcoin hit $20,000, more than 2,000 people signed up for my service. So it's been a crazy year. I've given more than 100 interviews, and I've been a headline speaker at a bunch of conferences around the world as well. I met you a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas, correct?
Yeah, World Crypto Con.
Yeah.
And I got to hear sit within your presentation. And it was a really insightful, a lot of great takeaways. And one of the things that stood out to me was you mentioned that if you miss the Amazon run up as far as the stocks, that crypto is now your Amazon. I hope I paraphrased that correctly. Maybe you can shed some light or your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, it's true. If you
Yeah.
bought Amazon 10 years ago and you put $25,000 into it, you're a millionaire.
Right.
And, I know Bitcoin has been collapsing the last few days and it's down 75% off its high. But you have to understand, nothing goes up in a straight line. The name is being manipulated. The market is overreacting. If you look back at the last 10 years on Bitcoin, there have been 4 cycles. We had a parabolic move, a nasty correction, a
Right.
parabolic move, a nasty correction, a parabolic move, a nasty correction, and now a 4th time. A parabolic move from December, January, nasty correction. And guess what? Every time we have a parabolic move, we knock out the high from the previous cycle. I have no doubt that the next parabolic move, which will happen next year, will yield a different result. It will be the same result. We will knock out the 20,000 mark. My target for the end of next year is $28,000, and I'm not ready to back off that yet. If
Yeah.
you, if you bought Bitcoin 2 years ago and you went to
Yeah.
sleep and you woke up today, you're up 1,000%. And
Right.
I'm probably going to tell you the same thing 2 years from now when this hits $50,000.
Right. And the data is all there. I mean, if you just spend some time looking back at it, there's higher lows, as you mentioned, you have the parabolic move, the corrections and higher lows, new support levels every year. So that's a good segue into one of my questions. In 2019, what do you see happening in the market? My personal thoughts are I will probably start seeing a lot of marketing from these big players like Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, and maybe the SEC approves a Bitcoin ETF. Are your thoughts along those lines, and maybe some other things I may have not thought of?
Yeah, you have the BACT coming next month, and then in January you have Fidelity, and I expect there will be another 2 or 3 watershed moments next year. And we're in a situation right now where these events are going to cause a spike in demand. And the reason the parabolic move will be so explosive is because it's going to coincide with the halving that comes up in May of 2020. And in 2021, you're going to have 365,000 Bitcoin hitting the market, 365,000 Bitcoin hitting the market as reward to the miners.
Right.
365,000 in 2021. This year, it's 730,000. That's double. So the supply of Bitcoin hitting the market is going to get cut in half. At the same time, we're probably going to see a spike in demand. And if you fast forward 2 years, you're going to have a situation where there are 100 million people in the world trying to get their hands on a few million Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. The scarcity will really kick in and take effect, drive demand. And just curious, and of course, this is not financial investment advice. We're just giving your opinion here. But do you know of any other major players that might be coming into the market? Like your Fidelities or your TD Ameritrades.
It's going to happen. These people will not let an opportunity like this slip through their hands. Anybody that thinks that Wall Street is going to ignore an industry that will probably be worth $4 trillion 5 years from now is naive. You have $200 trillion in the world right now tied up in stocks, cash, bonds, and gold. Right. All 4 of them are overvalued. If 2% of that $200 trillion ends up in crypto, you're looking at a $4 trillion valuation, 25 times where we are today. If Bitcoin holds on to its current market share, it puts the price at $125,000, and that's where I think we could be 5 years from now. Wall Street is not going to let you eat their lunch. Yeah. And the people at the top and the top 1% are not going to let the poor people close the gap so easily. They're shaking you out of your position right now, and they are gaining control of the market. If they haven't already done so, they will do so. The same way they separated you from your stocks 10 years ago when the stock market crashed. Guess what? You watched a 300% move from the sidelines, and they tripled their money.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. When it bottomed out, a lot of people bought, right? So that's actually another segue into my other question. Do you believe right now this sell-off is some manipulation that's taking place to bottom out the price as low as possible? I know there's a lot of over-the-counter purchases taking place as well. What are your thoughts on the recent downturn?
From what I understand, over the counter, there is a buyer for every person that wants to sell their Bitcoin. And the lower the market valuation of Bitcoin is, and I think we dropped below $100 billion already, correct? Yeah, we're below $100 billion now. The lower the valuation on Bitcoin is, the easier it is to manipulate.
Yeah.
Okay? At $20,000, it was a lot more difficult to manipulate than it is at $5,000. So right now, there's a very good chance that it's being manipulated. And I think the weak hands are getting shaken out.
Yeah.
As usual, the individuals buy high and they sell low.
Right.
People were running after me, tripping over themselves, trying to sign up for my service in January.
Yeah.
When Bitcoin was at $20,000. Guess what? $5,000, nobody calls me.
Nobody.
Right? The technical analysts, I like to refer to them as bozos, right? They don't like Bitcoin at 5,000, right? But they're going to like it at 12,000. And my 9-year-old nephew can tell you that doesn't make any sense. Why would you buy one Bitcoin for 12,000 when you can buy 2.4 Bitcoin right now for the same amount of money?
Right.
You're supposed to be gradually adding to your position as something you have conviction in goes on sale.
Yeah, absolutely believe that. Buying the dips, as they say. And I'm just curious, obviously, and I like to preface this with not financial advice because, sometimes people, take things and they try to come back to you. But what are you currently holding in your crypto portfolio, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, I don't mind sharing. My subscribers mind if I share. Because they paid me for those names. But right now, I have 28 open recommendations in crypto. I usually like to recommend a 60-40 rule where you have 60% of your money in Bitcoin and then you spread out 40% of your crypto money across those 24 names that I've recommended. Most of the names are in the top 50. A few of the names are speculative and are outside the top 50.
Got it. Very insightful. And where do you see, as far as crypto in 5 years? I know you touched a bit on it, but do you see us transacting with it? I know right now it's an investment tool, so to speak, and there's a lot of different tokens with different utilities. But do you see it being part of being accepted by merchants and obviously us using it on a day-to-day basis?
I believe 99% of the names on CoinMarketCap are garbage.
Yeah.
They're either overvalued, really risky, serve no purpose,
Yeah.
or will just become replaced by someone that comes along with a better mousetrap. Me personally, I have Bitcoin. I'm holding on to it the same way you would hold on to a bar of gold. I do not have Bitcoin in my Coinbase account so that I can buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Right.
Now, I am sure that in the next few months, in the next few years, there will be cryptos that come along where the speed of the transaction is lightning quick.
Right.
And the cost per transaction will allow you to buy a cup of coffee. But me personally, I don't spend my Bitcoin, especially when it's undervalued as it is right now. Maybe when the Bitcoin was at $20,000, I may have paid for a vacation on Expedia if they took Bitcoin as payment. But you don't want to spend Bitcoin if you think it's going to triple or quadruple in value.
Absolutely.
I've been trying to get people to donate crypto to a 5-star charity in Houston that accepts cryptocurrency donations, and nobody wants to donate the crypto because they're figuring out what happens if it goes to $20,000. Then I donated to the charity 3 or 4 times what I thought I was giving to them. So, I had 20% of my revenue in 2018 was cryptocurrency. In other words, people paid for my service with crypto. Let's just say it was a $600 service that someone was paying for.
Right.
At the time. It was 0.03 of a Bitcoin at the top of the market. So people didn't even notice that money coming out of their account.
Right.
Now it's like 0.12 Bitcoin, and that people are not so comfortable parting with because they are figuring out what that could end up costing them if they don't replace the Bitcoin before it goes higher. So I don't really overanalyze that situation with regards to are people going to be able to spend. I'm sure that we will get to that point where people are not walking around with wallets, credit cards, and dollar bills. If you probably don't remember the Jetsons cartoon.
Oh, I
from the
do.
1960s. You do? All right. Well, we're there now. Okay. And the world is changing, and I believe crypto is going to lead us into the second half of the 21st century. Asking me to go back to the old way of doing things with the banking system would be the same as asking me to replace my computer with a typewriter. It's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, and we're already seeing the disruption that's taking place. And sure, there's a lot of fighting back as much as possible. We've just heard from guys like Jamie Dimon and so forth, the head of J.P. Morgan. But it was behind the scenes. What I've been noticing is like Bank of America grabbing patents for crypto storage, and this bank and this guy's doing this behind the scenes. Yet, what they're saying is different, but what they're doing is, moving towards the adoption.
This is vulture capitalism. There's not a chance in hell they're going to let you close the gap between rich and poor. They will not let you eat their lunch, and they will not be happy until they have complete control over this market. And guess what? They're probably already halfway there.
Yeah.
All of the average Joes got shaken out in the last 8, 9, 10 months. They couldn't take the pain anymore. They're out, and guess who bought what they were selling? It was the smart people at the top.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with you. I absolutely believe that's what's taking place. And you mentioned some of the charity work just in when you were speaking before. I know at World CryptoCon you talked a bit about this, and I'm a big believer in giving back. I've done some myself, working with the Fabretto Foundation in Nicaragua, sponsoring some kids and things like that. Can you tell us a bit about your work there? I think it's just a lot of great stuff that you're doing.
Well, there are two things. First of all, I have my philanthropy and philosophy.com website. Mm-hmm. I wrote reports on 24 charities there. You can look at those 24 charities, find a few that strike a nerve with you, and donate to them directly. Every one of them is highly ranked and vetted. So that's one thing. What I've been focusing on most recently was a 5-star charity that I visited in Houston recently, HAWC.org. That's Houston Area Women's Center. It's a 5-star charity. It was established in 1977 in Houston. They take between 30 and 40,000 phone calls a year on their hotline from domestic violence victims. They also have a 120-bed shelter in a secret location that the CEO took me to. That was separate from the headquarters that I went to.
Wow.
The 120-bed shelter, what upset me tremendously when I was there is that 1/3 of the beds are occupied by children. So the guy beats up his wife. She leaves the house with the children. The shelter takes all of them in. If the woman has a job, they take care of the kids during the day. If the woman is unemployed, they give her job training. Because a lot of these women that are beaten up don't have an education. They were financially dependent on the man in the house. In many instances, they were pregnant when they were teenagers. And you don't even have to do a background check on this charity because half of the $7 million budget that they have is covered by a federal grant. The government does not write out checks for $3.5 million unless a charity was vetted and that it was shown that they're filling a very big void.
Right.
They also get $640,000 a year from United Way. So it's a 5-star charity, and the reason I want to talk about it here is because we have gotten them to the point where they accept cryptocurrency. So if you go to hawk.org/Tour de Crypto, TOURDE Crypto, hawk.org/Tour de Crypto, you will see that they accept more than a dozen cryptocurrencies right now. Tour de Crypto, as you know from the conference, I sponsored 2 bicycle riders that went from New York to California. One of them was almost killed along the way. Right. You saw him on stage in a wheelchair. The tour was to raise awareness, to get people to donate crypto to charities and to get charities to accept crypto. And that was their mission and their goal. And in this initial Tour de Crypto, the first annual Tour de Crypto, they decided to give all of the proceeds to HAWC, and 5% of the ticket sales from that conference went to the charity. That was my condition. I said, I don't want a speaker fee. If you give 5% of the ticket sales to the charity, I will appear and I will not ask for a speaker fee. And that was the arrangement we had.
That's awesome. I love the work that you're doing there. It's very inspiring. And everyone, I will be putting the links below to both websites that Ronnie mentioned, so you can definitely check that out. And if you feel like donating, you certainly can. Ronnie, I think to wrap things up, Can you tell us a bit, if someone wanted to leverage Standpoint Research information and sign up and so forth, what is the next step? Should they just visit your website and go through the process?
Yes, they go to standpointresearch.com and they can sign up. They can send me a private message on Twitter at Ronnie Moas is the Twitter handle. And you'll be really happy with the service. I get very, very high marks from my subscribers. Even when the market was collapsing, 88% gave my service a very high grade this year. And more than 1,500 people responded to the survey. I just want to touch on one more point regarding Hawk.
Sure.
More than 90% of the people watching this video are probably men. And this would not be their first choice with regards to what charity strikes a nerve with them.
Yeah.
But you should not be looking at it from your perspective. You should be looking at it and thinking about how you would feel if it was your daughter, your wife, your sister, or your, a friend or a relative, a female friend or a relative who was on the receiving end of these beatings that this charity is trying to protect women from. So you have all of my information. There are many ways to get in touch with me. No one has the same name as me, to my knowledge, in the entire world. So if you Google my name, you'll see dozens of interviews that I've given, and it's not hard to reach me. Twitter direct message is usually the best way to catch me.
Perfect. So everyone, once again, I'll leave the links in the description. Definitely check out Standpoint Research as well as the both charity and philanthropy and philosophy, Ronnie.com. So I'll have links in the below. Definitely check that out. Ronnie, anything else you want to mention before we wrap things up?
No, I think people just have to understand, don't take a bet that you can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
The same way you have gold, silver, stocks, bonds in a diversified portfolio. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
You should have cryptocurrency in your portfolio. And you have to understand that nothing goes up in a straight line.
Right.
You have to hold on to this a few years, the same way people held on to those top NASDAQ names 20 years ago. This is the same exact situation that I'm seeing in crypto that I saw 20 years ago with the NASDAQ, with the dot-com bubble. There were hundreds of names that were garbage, but if you looked at the market cap rankings a year or two into that boom, the market sent you really clear signals with regards to which names you wanted to buy and hold on to. And look how that worked out. Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, Cisco, Juniper, I can go down the list. Don't try to be a hero and try to pick a flower from all the weeds that are outside the top 100. You want to focus your attention on the top names. It's okay to have some speculative, 5-10% speculative in one of those names that are off everyone's radar and hope that you hit a home run. But you have to understand that 9 out of those 10 names will go to zero.
Yep. That's great advice and great insight. Ronnie, thank you so much. Absolutely so appreciative of you joining us today. A lot of great takeaways, and I'll have links below to everyone once again to check out Ronnie's website, Standpoint Research, as well as the charity websites and so forth. So Ronnie, thank you so much, and we'll hope to have you back, as things progress in the market.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.